So this is episode 11, and there's actually quite a lot I have to talk about in this one, as I've got COE and the festivals at Hartpury, so this should be a pretty interesting episode, so stick around. Here's some of the pictures I managed to get at the Centre of Excellence, and for once it was at Dartford Valley, so it was really close to me, which was lucky. And I will be doing a longer review about what happened and what we did. So I did the final COE, and it was definitely a lot different to the rest, as a lot of them were very repetitive of how they did things. However, this one was mostly completely different, except for one or two aspects of it. So the first thing we ended up doing was the 1200, which I absolutely hated. But I actually managed to beat my time by quite a lot, so I'm quite happy about that. Because normally I'd get 6 minutes 40, but this time I got 6 minutes 29, so I'm quite happy with that. Then we went on to, it was quite a weird one, so they had cones set up, and then we had the attacking and defending team, and it was completely touch, but we had to start off from wherever the colour of the cone was. So if it was red, we'd have to run over to red, defend on red, attack on red. So it was just the different types of things to go back and forth. So you'd have a quick setup off of a ruck. Then after that, we ended up doing corridor runs, which is where someone runs around one cone, someone runs around the other, and then you tackle whoever gets there first. So you'd have someone with the ball, someone not with the ball, and then you'd tackle. But there'd be different cases of it. So one would just be head on running, one would be tackling from the side, and just 2v1s. It'd just be stuff like that, which I quite like most of the time because it's quite nice just to have a head on tackle, but I do prefer the side on. Then we did something I thought was a bit odd, which was you got into like pairs and then you talk about what, well, you chose what you talked about, but I think my group chose long and short achievements to make that we want to make soon. So for my short achievement, I said I want to make steals in my game, only because I knew I had the festival at Hartpury, and I did end up making 3, so that was alright. But after that, we had the super strength thing, so it's basically showing off your strengths. I was gonna do hooker throws, but it was raining, and I thought I've already got I did hooker throws last time, and I think they were pretty good. So I wanted something different, so I chose scrums instead, and that was definitely positional and getting in the right places. So we did like ones, twos, so that's how that ended up being most of the time. Then finally we had games, and at first it was shoulders on, but then after they moved it to tackling, and I ended up getting injured in like the last tackling game because I just knocked my shoulder, which was just really annoying considering I wanted to do the tackling games. So that was COE, and overall I think I did pretty well, and I'm quite happy with how I played. So I'm hoping I get in, but obviously I can't be too confident with it. So we didn't actually do a lot today. That is because we have a festival tomorrow and I don't think they wanted to get any of us injured. So it ended up being mostly scenarios and positional play. So we were doing line outs, basically different calls off line outs, and then mostly where we'd be setting after a line out or on defence, like where we were on the pitch, just stuff like that. However, that didn't really last very long, and we did a lot of mobility and a lot of rehab stretches. So that was quite nice, quite a chill day. And then finally we ended with gym. So this Wednesday it was a bit different to what I normally have, as we went to a festival at Hartpury. So in total we ended up playing 3 games. However, it was a bit odd as 2 of the games were against the exact same team. My first game definitely ended up being my best game out of all of them. However, I do struggle a lot with having quite long time gaps in between. So it ended up being like an hour to an hour and a half between each game, and I think that was just not doing well for me. But I think we kind of struggled as a team on like the second and third game, especially, only because we have never truly played together. This was our first game as a team playing together. So I think there was some slight disconnect between everyone and not really knowing what they can do and like how they can play. So I think there was a bit of struggle there, especially with like pods and technique and everything like that. So overall, I think we did all right, but I definitely think there could have been some things we did better on. But as I said before, it was our first game together, so I'm not gonna go, this was bad. It was good for the first game. However, I definitely expect more for when we play more and more together. I also think there was a lot of things going on with like how we were supposed to stand, where we were supposed to go. So I think the more we practice at it, the better we'll definitely get. So I'm quite excited to see that happen and to see us get better.